A very, very good afternoon, dear teachers from Tumkuru. We are very happy to have you all in our first session of Sanchalana this year, July 2025, in collaboration with the Diet of Tumkuru and Madhugiri. We as CWC have propagated a program called the DETP, the District Education Transformation Program. And this is what we're starting off with for the year 25-26. A very warm welcome, and I would say I am very thrilled to see so many teachers join for English in the first session itself. I hope that the enthusiasm and attentiveness to concentrate and learn and absorb continues throughout. ನಮಗೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಸಂಚಲನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರುತ್ತಂತ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಟೇಕ್ ಅವೇ ಮನೆಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮ್ಗೆ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಂತ ಗೊತ್ತು. we've come through a couple of years and sessions, and ಇದು ಮುಂದುವರಿತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ we do see benefits from this, and this year also we would like to tell you that a good number of modules is planned for you, and we would like for all of you all to continue for all the learning cycles that we will have from July onwards. So without further ado, and without taking too much in terms of just introduction, because we are all familiar with Sanchalana and the program that it involves, I would like to talk about today's agenda for the meeting. So a couple of things that we will be doing today is, first, we will be discussing about an action plan for our cluster sharing meeting. So throughout the module, in bits and pieces or in complete elaboration, we will try and understand what we are supposed to do in our cluster sharing meetings or at our Sanchalana centers for the year 2025-26, right? And in these cluster sharing meetings, how do we address our learning outcomes? And they have to be covering all the grades of 4, 5, 6, and 7. How do we do that? How do we take up and address these LOs through language learning and teaching approaches? That is going to be the theme or the main focus of our Sanchalanas from here on. We would encourage and request all of the teacher mentors present here to understand these approaches and methodologies and strategies. Not because you're not already familiar with these. We've all done our B.Ed and D.Ed, and everything would have had approaches within it, and you're all very familiar. But what we will try and do is, after a little bit of discussion around a particular strategy for 1 month, we will immediately jump into sample activities that can go under those approaches. So using each approach, using unique strategies within that approach, and activities for grades 4, 5, 6, and 7 for that particular month's academic calendar is something that will help us improve the quality of our classroom transactions, right? So we will take up to that in our upcoming module. So what I would like for all of you all to do is quickly open your chat box. What we want all of you all to share in the chat box is, what is your agenda for the July month's Sanchalana or workshop? You all must be having a lot of ideas because you've all been teacher mentors in Sanchalana for a good number of years. You've all had your experiences. So first workshop, ಈ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ 2025-26 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಶಾಪ್ ಜುಲೈ ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಚಾಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳಿಸಿ. We will talk about what our suggestions are, what we propose, what we would like to include within your Sanchalana meetings in a few minutes, but we would like for all of you all to give your suggestions. I am yet to hear from the chat box. Teachers, please kindly write what you would like to do and we will discuss further. Yes, I see a lot of teachers have joined here. Harish sir, Shilpa ma'am, Pushpavati ma'am, Divya ma'am, Annapurna ma'am, Divya ma'am, Bhagya ma'am, Gayatri ma'am, Yogish sir, Jyoti ma'am, Jagdish sir, and so many others. Could you all give in your suggestions in the chat box, please? Lovely. So Jyoti Dinakar ma'am says that we were asked to talk about FLN and bridge course. Very nice. FLN is our focus, and since it is the beginning of the academic year, the bridge course would be a nice way to start off. Very nice, very nice. Hanumant Raju sir also says FLN activities, lovely. Pushpavati ma'am says, how can we facilitate under learning outcomes? Okay, so that is a point of discussion that can be taken up in the Sanchalana Center. Correct. ಆ ತಿಂಗಳಿಗಿರೋ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಔಟ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ವೆರಿ ನೈಸ್. ರಂಗನಾಥ ಸರ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಸೇಸ್ FLN activities. Okay. Can we have a couple of more answers? What else can we do in our Sanchalana centers as a first session this year? Experiential learning in classroom. Okay, Rashmi ma'am says that. Lovely. Yes, we will want all of our learning in the classroom to be experiential in nature. Very nice. Any other answers? All right. I think that itself gives us an idea that all of us have some plans for the upcoming Sanchalana, correct? So what we would like to do is simply this. We know our framework. This is the framework that we've been following. You're all very, very familiar. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಇದು ಪರಿಚಯ ಆಗಿರೋದೆ. Step 1, we are doing our teacher mentor session today, face-to-face or online. Today is an online session. Step 2, quiz ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಲಸ್ಟರ್ ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮುಂದುವರಿತೀರಾ. 6 ಅವರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲಾಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಿಜ್ ಬಂದು ನೀವು ಕಂಡಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. And the last but not the least step is that you will be receiving experiential teaching learning resources on our app called Teachopia, and you will also be receiving it in the form of a handbook. So how does our handbook look? It looks something like this. Teacher handbook ಬಂದು ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಕಾಪಿ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸ್ಕೂಲಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಲಾಗುತ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ವೈಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. If suppose grade 4, there are certain chapters that you'll have to finish within the month of July. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇರೋ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ QR ಕೋಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಿಮಗೆ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ವರ್ಕ್ಶೀಟ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ PBLs ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಫಾರ್ ಈಚ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ಸ್, for grades 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now, these are the resources that we will be providing apart from the module, but in the module, what are we doing? What is the structure of the module? we've already spoken of in terms of our objective. We will like to clear it again. This is the hierarchy of the theme that we will be addressing in our modules. Approach is the first. Approach is a bigger umbrella. Within an approach, there are several strategies. And within each of those strategies, an n number of activities can be executed, right? So in our 7 monthly cycles, what we're going to do is we're going to take up each approach for 1 month. Say, suppose for the month of July, we will be taking up game-based teaching. That is what we will be doing today. In the month of August, we will be taking up total physical response as an approach. September, we will be taking up storytelling methodology as an approach. And November, we will be taking up reading for beginners with phonics. December, we will take up an approach called communicative language teaching. And in January, we will do an eclectic approach or a reflective summation. What does that mean? It means that each of the months we've dealt with one approach alone, alva? ಆದರೆ ಈ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಯೋಗಿಸಬೇಕಂತ ಯಾವುದೇ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ರೂಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. So if we do not have a hard and fast rule that only one approach should be used for one classroom, it gives us the opportunity to mix and match. How can we mix and match? How many approaches can be taken within one activity is something that January will deal with, called the eclectic approach or the reflective summation. February, since it's the last one, we will be discussing about assessment and evaluation. And this will help us with our summative assessments. Alva. And not to forget that since we've received feedback rigorously from the teachers saying that there are different levels of learners in our classrooms, our activities will be divided into 3 main levels: easy, medium, and hard. These you can take to your classrooms and customize it as per your learner's level. Now, what is game-based teaching? What is this approach in all? Yes, so a few things that we need to remember in terms of what a game-based teaching is that it is learning with fun. It's playful learning. And this is done by the integration of games, and games that are not only meant for entertainment, but which are purposeful. Which brings us to the next point. How is it purposeful learning? Because certain learning outcomes and learning objectives are planned in the form of games for the children. And this is in alignment with the curriculum and the academic calendar completely. Leverages game elements there are these important elements of a game like rules, challenges, and rewards. If there is a challenge, the child in teens has to overcome that challenge. They will have to learn certain things to overcome that challenge and get that reward. And whoever does learning the best gets the reward. Right? So this fosters a spirit of competitiveness, of collaboration, of immediate learning. The children, ಇದು ಕಲೀರಿ ಇದು ಕಲಿಬೇಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ it means that they are not connecting with the subject. But games, because it's rules, because it's rewards, they immediately connect to it, and those are the things that we leverage on. Last but not the least, it helps us facilitate learning from afar. The children are put into a space where learning happens automatically. All you have to do is now and then observe or supervise or monitor. So why do we have to use this approach? What are the benefits of it? One is that it increases engagement and motivation. In the children, it's important for them to be motivated to learn what is before them. And if it is not fun for them, it is not interesting to them, they will not be engaged in it, right? That is the first purpose of game-based teaching. Next is because it gives ample scope for feedback and self-correction. ಇವಾಗ ಒಂದ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಗೇಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಕೆಲವೊಬ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹಂತಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕರೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆನೆ ಹೋಗಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನೀವ್ ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆನೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ದೆಮ್ಸೆಲ್ಸ್, be it in language in terms of learning new words or pronunciation or anything. And while they're struggling, you'll be able to immediately give feedback. ಆಯ್ತಪ್ಪ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. So there is a spirit of encouragement and a learning space that can be created within a game-based teaching. Development of problem solving and critical thinking skills. These are the 21st century skills that we want our children to learn either way. So the fact that they will be solving the problems for themselves, they will be looking after the solutions, they will find the answers to their questions themselves is a skill that game-based teaching develops. Why do we say that? Is suppose we're playing a game like treasure hunt. A child has to understand the clue, only then will they get the gifts that is hidden. But to understand the clue, comprehension, reading comprehension is an important element. So they themselves will go around, ask what is the meaning of this word, what is the meaning of that word, what can we do, ma'am ideno adeno, okay, no one is there to ask, I think I'll guesswork. So all of that skills of learning things on your own because you have enough motivation is taken care of here. And plus, the best benefit is that it creates a low stress learning environment, right? So children don't feel as much pressured in terms of a class test or finishing up a essay in a particular time, in a given period of time. Here, they're just having fun and, not feeling pressurized to achieve something as much as they just want to by themselves win. So that works for both of us. In terms of strategies, we've seen approaches and how they are split and how they will be dealt with in the upcoming modules. But in terms of strategies, we should understand that there are 3 kinds of strategies. The 3 kinds of strategies are engagement and exploratory strategies, expressive and demonstrative strategies, structural and organizational strategies. Under each of these strategies, certain elements can be used. For example, engagement and exploratory strategies use elements like observe, imagine, ask. So the child has to tell us what they see, what they think it might be, and what questions come in front of their eyes when they see something. Next kind of strategy is expressive and demonstrative. Expressive and demonstrative strategies has 3 other elements, namely name, describe, and act. So here also, the child not only names something by increasing vocabulary, by describing it, it improves on its expressions, and by acting, it improves on its comprehension. Last but not the least, structural and organizational strategies include elements like narrate and organize. So what is narrate? If a story is being told to them, to read it the same way is not narrate, but to tell the story back to the teacher and back to the class again is narration. Plus organization in terms of story sequencing, the chronology, all of that can be handled under this particular strategy. For example, let's just take engagement and exploratory level of strategies. In these strategies, the focus is mainly on observation, imagination, and inquiry, which means under observe, the sensory perception of the child or the learner is what is focused upon. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you sense? What do you able to scan? What were you able to notice or detect or watch? Did you pay attention to certain things more than the others? All of that. Imagination, being another key element, is something that encourages creative thought, visualization, and the ability to think abstract, meaning you are able to create mental pictures on your own without an outside stimulus. Next, ask. This promotes curiosity, critical thinking, and information gathering, where things like inquire, question, investigate, wonder, seek information is encouraged. Why is this strategy used? Because it's not us inquiring or seeking information from the children. We are not the ones who are asking them the questions. We are not the ones who are investigating or raising queries. They are doing it for themselves. So that is where this strategy helps. Next, quickly, if we go through expressive and demonstrative strategies, the focus, unlike the previous strategy, is on output and application. So here, a few elements that can be used are name, describe, and act. Under name, we will see that the focus is mainly on vocabulary and identification. So they'll have to label, identify, categorize, etc. Within describe, one is encouraged to detail out verbally or in written form the observations or the imagined concepts that they have had. So a couple of elements of strategies that can be used are paint a picture with words, characterize, portray, detail, etc. And under act, okay, sorry teachers, we are having a little bit of confusion as to whether you're able to hear us. Can anybody confirm if I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am, it's audible.
Lovely.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Lovely, lovely. Thank you, teachers. Thank you for coming to our rescue and reassuring us. Very sweet of all of you. Yes. So the kind of strategies that can be used within name are label, identify, and categorize. Under describe, here they're not only naming the objects or the person or things that they see, they're detailing it out. So their elements like explain, elaborate, characterize, narrate, descriptively can all be used. And under act, since it's a kinesthetic kind of learning, role playing and physical expression is given more importance. So elements like perform, demonstrate, mimic, move, impersonate are things that are used. Next form of strategies that we will be addressing is structural and organizational strategies. So this focuses on frameworks for narrative processes, as in, say, suppose understanding the beginning, middle, and end of a story is important for story sequencing, right? So then the strategies like sequencing, outlining, developing a plot, all by themselves, chronology, all of that can be used. So we have seen three kinds of strategies, and each of these strategies is something that we can be using under our approach for the day, which is game-based teaching. So when we say approach and strategy, what do we mean? It is simply that if we want to reach a destination, and the destination being that the child must achieve these learning outcomes by the end of the year, our teaching method will take a particular route, and that route is called an approach. While on the other hand, strategies are directions within that route that you get to reach the same destination. The same destination can be reached through different approaches. The same destination can be reached through different strategies within the approach. But this is all a structural way of addressing teaching and learning amongst our students. So a couple of resources that you will be receiving as always during your Sanchalana learning cycles are that you will receive a resource document called the Teacher Handbook. You will receive pre-TT and post-TT Google Forms, and you will also have a couple of classroom observation and interviews from our team members now and then, just to collect feedback directly from you. And I hope you're all familiar with that process. So here is the session flow that we suggest. We have to cover FLN. We have to cover an approach. We have to cover the monthly chapters that's assigned to all the 4 grades. Plus, we have to do the DTs. What is it that teachers are actually able to take home? It will be an activity template like this. So our activities in our teacher handbooks all follow this template. And we will also have a small activity at the end of today's session around this same template. But just remember that teachers will be required to create such kind of activities in the Sanchalana Center itself. So you will have to plan your session in such a way that the last 10 to 15 minutes is dedicated for creating an activity and discussing about it. So the key elements of the activity template that we are sharing is activity name, learning outcomes, learning objectives, materials required, steps for the activity, reflective sessions or questions, or daily life application. So all of these elements, if covered within an activity, it will prove that it is an effective one. So we have a couple of learning outcomes for grades 4, 5, 6, and 7, Alva. But to address all of these month on month is our challenge, and which we will be taking up by looking through sample activities for our workshop. Over to Miss Angelina, who will take us through these sample activities.
Thank you, Ms. Ba, ma'am. Good afternoon, teachers. As Ms. Ba, ma'am, just mentioned, let's look at a few sample activities for the workshop. So we have a few strategies that we went over with Ms. Ba, ma'am. We will look at how these strategies are used in activities. So the first strategy, look and name, you will find it in the activity which involves you to look for the particular blend in a printed material. And when the student finds the blend, the largest number who finds the blend will win the game. This is categorized as an easy activity. If you look at the strategy name and observe, the students will be looking at an activity where they have to label boxes with different blends and place them around the room. They are given a stack of cards and ask them to put it in the box with a corresponding blend. So they not only have to recognize the name of the blend, but also observe if they are putting it in the right box. Name and imagine. Name and imagine strategy is used in the activity where we create a spinner which has different blends on it. When we spin the wheel and the pointer lands on a blend, students will give words that will have that blend. So students will name the particular blend when they see it on the spinner, and then they will use the strategy imagine to come up with the words that they have to with the blend. And this is categorized as a hard activity, and it takes care of the skills of speaking and reading. The next activity is game-based learning. We are looking at techniques for game-based learning. These game-based learning techniques can be looked at as what learners do and as what teachers do. So what is it that the learners do during a game-based teaching? They problem solve and critically think. This is naturally present because the challenges that the students are given, they need to figure it out. The next one is active recall and application. The students are expected to constantly retrieve and use information to progress in the game. Communication and collaboration. Some games require students to talk to each other and work with peers. The next techniques that's followed by teachers are active facilitation and monitoring. We guide the learning process without taking over the game. Next is strategic scaffolding and differentiation, where we provide just the right amount of support and adjust the complexity for individual needs. And finally, targeted feedback and reinforcement. We offer specific immediate feedback to help students learn from the actions within the game.
Teachers, we request you to unmute if you are in your classrooms. We can hear a couple of words here and there, and we suppose yes. All right.
Thank you. Let's continue. We will be looking at game-based teaching's characteristics. So what is it that you need to ensure that your game that you design for your students needs to have? 3 important things. 1, goals and rules. These are elements of experiential learning, and it loops in evaluation and feedback. The goals and rules are aligned to the learning outcomes that are mapped to the chapter. These learning outcomes are gamified to help the students have fun while learning. Elements like simulation and hands-on activities are essential parts of game-based teaching. The evaluation and feedback is immediate and transparent. And as the child can see whether he is winning or losing the game, he will correct the course if desired. Let's look at a few activities that we have planned, keeping the game-based teaching approach in mind and using different strategies. So we have word hunt, sorting race, spin and say, bingo, memory match, and I Spy. We will go over each of those activities in detail. They address a few of the learning outcomes that I can read out. For grade 4, respond verbally in writing to questions based on day-to-day life experiences. For grade 5, answers coherently in written or oral form to questions in English based on day-to-day life experiences or unfamiliar story. Grade 6, participates in activities like role plays, group discussions, debate, poems recitation, songs, jokes, riddles, and tongue twisters. Grade 7, thinks critically and responds to questions based on texts, events, characters, ideas, or themes. So I've read out just one learning outcome from each grade. As you can see, these games meet a lot of learning outcomes that have been listed. The first activity we'll be looking at is called Word Hunt, and it's for grade 4. The strategy that will be used is look and name. The learning objective is that the learner will be able to identify blends in text they see all around them. We have given a list of blends as the materials required. However, to meet a few FLN requirements, if you would like to start with just vowel sounds and consonant sounds, that can also be incorporated in the game. Alternatively, you can give them newspapers, books, magazines, and other material. Or you can also give them a poem which they can read and mark. So you first give the students a short poem which is age appropriate, and you assign the students with one blend each. Then you instruct the student to mark the words that have the blend that they have been assigned in the poem given. And step 4, you recognize the student who finishes first as the winner. The next activity is called Sorting Race for grade 4, using the strategy Name and Observe. The learning objective is that the learners will be able to identify blends used in words or represented as images. So the material that you will require are either hoops or labeled baskets and word cards or picture cards. These are a few words that you can use to make cards. Okay, step 1 is that you set up a designated area for different blends. You place the baskets in different parts of the classroom. Now you've given them the words or the picture cards. So the students can either play this individually or in a team. They race to sort the cards into the correct blend categories as quickly as possible. You declare the individual or team as a winner who categorizes all the cards correctly. Spin and say. The strategy used is Name and Observe for grade 4. The learning objective is to give words that have blends. This is an image of the spinner that you could create when you are playing this activity. This spinner has a list of various blends that are written on it and a needle that is movable. So once you create the spinner with various consonant blends, the students spin, land on a blend, and must quickly say a word that contains that blend. So the student is expected to imagine their own word or come up with an actual word which has the blend. To continue, so step 3, the points will be awarded for the unique or correct words. And step 4, the student with the highest points is declared to be the winner. Teachers, we will now play an activity so we can understand the strategies being used and the approach a little better. Kindly give us a minute to set us up. Thank you for waiting, teachers. Let's do the activity that involves recognizing blends. So what we have here before you is a poem, The Whispering Woods. You will need to identify the various blends in this particular poem. I'll read out the poem to you once. The brisk wind swept through the branches tall, a crinkly, crispy, soft leaves fall. A small black bird with a bright red crest sang a sweet tune from its secret nest. The glowing sun, a splendid sight, spread streaks of gold and sparkling light. Now, teachers, you can identify which are the words that have blends. Please unmute yourself and call out the words that you have. Or, yeah, alternatively, you can send in and chat the words that have the blends in it. Please use the chat to identify the words that have blends.
Bru, cru, blue.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. That's right. Could you also tell us the word, ma'am?
Yeah, ma'am, sure. Brisk.
Yes.
Branches.
Okay.
Crinkly.
Yes, ma'am.
Crispy.
Yes.
Then bright.
Bright.
And also glowing.
Glowing. In glowing, which is the blend that we are looking at, ma'am?
Glow.
Glow. Okay.
And then also spread.
And spread. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, these streaks also blend, ma'am. Still.
Yes, ma'am. ST. Yes. Still. Yes.
And also sparkling also a blend. Spur.
Yes. Spur. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sunil sir gives us the words crinkly and crispy. So both starting with the blend cr. And thank you, sir. Okay, so let's discuss how else we can use this activity in our classrooms. We could use different texts. We could use texts from our textbooks, so the children can relate to it. So you can also be able to check on comprehension when you are reading this text and then using it for the activity.
Teachers, another thing that you can improvise this in your Sanchalana centers by taking random pieces of text. It can be from a magazine, a newspaper, a textbook that they're not familiar with, and show it to them. Textbooks or texts that they're already familiar with, like you all are here, they'll be able to pick it out from memory. But to be able to find out, to help children find out by themselves and segregate, make a list, come up with new words. This is something that you can actually do with the teachers using different pieces of text.
All right, let's look at the grade 5 activity, blend bingo. So this strategy used is observe, name, and act, where the learners will be able to identify blends via pictures or words. This particular activity requires a little bit of preparation. You need to create bingo sheets, that is a grid of 3 on 3 on paper, and write words with blends in each box. Create many such grids on separate pieces of paper as number of students or participants that you have. Ensure that the sheets have unique blends on them. Next, you create bingo cards. These are chits which have the words that you have put in your bingo sheets. Now, to play the game, Distribute the sheets to the students. Pick a chit and call out the name in it. And students who have that word on their sheet will mark it on their bingo sheet. The student that marks off all the words on their bingo sheet calls out bingo and is declared the winner. Grade 6 has a strategy of name and observe for the activity memory match. Here, the objective is to match pairs by identifying words with blends. This requires you to make card pairs, one with a blend and one with a picture of the object with the blend or the word. For example, you can look at the cloud and the frog cards that have been displayed. To play this game, once you've created the pair of cards with containing a blend and a blend on one side and a picture on the other side. Alternatively, you can also have blends or words that start with blends on it instead of a picture, depending on the grade that you are doing the activity for. You lay down all the cards face down in front of the player. Now, the player, that is the student, will take turns and flip 2 cards and to find a match. If they find a match, they will move those cards away. If they don't find a match, they will keep the cards back and the game continues till somebody finds a match for those cards. Grade 7's activity is called I Spy. This involves observe and ask, describe and name. The learning objectives are that you identify objects within the classroom or a given picture that contains specific blends. This game usually has a line to go with it. It says, I spy with my little eye something that starts with a st blend. So you can replace the sound with any blend of your choice or even a vowel or a consonant sound. So the students will look around and guess the object that you are referring to.
Here, let's just try this out, shall we? I know that we're all not in the same common room as a Sanchalana center, but we can play I Spy. So I Spy for all of us is on something that's a common ground, right? So the common ground for all of us here is this screen that's in front of us. So let me play or say I Spy and let's see if you all can guess. All right. I spy with my little eye something circular and floating. I spy with my little eye something that is circular and floating. What do you think?
Ice cube.
Ice cube, okay. But ma'am, it is something that I can see and you can see right now. For context, I Spy can be played only when you and I have the same things to see. Can you and I see an ice cube on the screen? No, right?
No.
What I'm saying is from the screen. So on the screen, I am saying that I spy with my little eye something that is circular and floating. Yes, ma'am?
Straw.
Come again, ma'am.
Straw.
Straw. Okay, but ma'am, do you see a straw on the screen? On this screen, on this presentation that we are having in front of you all, can you see it on the screen?
Story. Students.
Okay, teachers, I think we'll have to explain again. I spy with my little eye is something that we can see, an object that we can see. So an object that you all can see
I, madam.
on the
I.
screen. Yes, sir, but is the eye displayed on the screen for you? A common thing that you and I should be seeing, right? ಒಂದೇ ರೂಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. But I'm playing I Spy with all of you all based on what we're seeing on the screen right now.
PPT slide, ma'am.
Yes, PPT slide, correct. Very good. Someone said bubbles. Very nice. Lovely, lovely. I do not know who that is, but lovely, ma'am. Thank you for that answer. It's the bubbles. They're circular and they're floating, right? So you have fleur there for floating as a blend. And you can also make the children wonder what you're talking about for a while. All right, we'll give it one more shot. Let's see if you all pick it up.
I spy with my little eye something that starts with
Okay, Angelina ma'am just went with something that is very easy and familiar. She said,
I spy with my little eye something that starts with
sorry ma'am, we're not able to hear you. Student.
Ma'am, please repeat the question. Something that starts with was stopped.
sound, ma'am, ST, the sound that's formed when you have the alphabet S and T together.
We can see step 1, step 2.
That was
Students.
not heard, ma'am.
All right, lovely. So you've come up with words like step and students. Okay. So here we've seen two examples of either it being an object or it being a word. All right, we'll play another thing with an object and let's see if you all are able to find it. Okay, I spy with my little eye something that looks like a parallelogram but has gaps.
Screen.
The screen.
The outline, ma'am.
The
Outline of the
outline.
slide.
Lovely, lovely. See, now you're catching pace. Lovely, teachers, lovely. So you can just come up with these things on random. You can just have fun around the things that you can see, and it has to be common. So you can definitely use this strategy for different grammar concepts like adjectives or nouns or even adverbs for that matter. Here, what we're trying to do is use it for a simple concept like blend.
This is beautiful, ma'am.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So now that we have seen a couple of activities, each of these activities that we ran you all through was to give you an idea of what can be done at your Sanchalana center. You don't have to explain it to the teacher. You can do it with the teachers. Like we've been receiving feedback on the chat box. We do understand that just explaining an activity doesn't help. Doing the activity helps. So what we would like for all of you all to do is use the activities from this PPT that will be shared to transact in your Sanchalana centers. So in your Sanchalana centers, you will be given roughly about 6 hours to do your July workshop. What are you going to do for 6 hours? We need to get it planned up right? So the first thing that we would like for all of you all to plan is for welcome address and context setting. Keep it short and crisp, just for about 15 minutes. And next thing is plan for an warm-up or an icebreaker activity for again another 15 minutes. This here we did not want to give any suggestions because we want you to take an autonomous decision and come up with your own warm-up or icebreaker activities. It can be different for different people. Right? Why do we propose a warm-up or an icebreaker activity for almost 15 minutes? Is simply because if the teachers from their classrooms are coming into the Sanchalana centers, they have to switch between being a teacher and a learner. At the Sanchalana center, we all are learners, alva? So to be able to make that transition from a teacher to a learner, some new thing has to happen to make that change. And a warm-up or an icebreaker activity can help us, right? After that, as you all know, kindly distribute pre-quiz and have the teachers discuss and answer it. Do not give out the right answers before they have submitted it, right? Once they have submitted it with their honest answers, then we can actually try and discuss what are the possible right answers. Then you will have your opportunity to conduct the activities for almost 4 hours, 2 hours before lunch break and 2 hours after lunch break. What can you do? In these 4 hours, you can utilize our teacher handbook plus our teacher module that we have presented today to come up with various activities for LPS and HPS. So the first 2 hours, you can do grades 4 and 7. So you're covering both LPS and HPS. And for the next 2 hours after lunch, you can cover grades 5 and 6. So again, LPS and HPS is covered. Along with this, we have been integrating some FLN activities also within the list that in this module you will all be receiving. We have not conducted every activity, but you can utilize the resources at hand to come up with your own. Next, the last 30 minutes is dedicated to discuss the challenges for the month, and the teachers are required to come up with collaborative ways and ideas in which the Sanchalana Center can be, a problem-solving ground. ಅದನ್ನ facilitate ಮಾಡೋದು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ. So administrative issues, please direct it to the higher officials like CRPs or PRPs. Content related issues ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗೋದಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇದೆ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್, ಈ ತರ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಹಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಹಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಹಿಂಗೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗುತ್ತಂತ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಲ್ಲ, ಅದ್ರ ಬದಲಾಗಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಟೋನ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ನಿಮ್ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೆ, right? So do make sure that you have all of these in your way of facilitation to make it a more enriching experience for yourself and for your teachers. Last but not the least, the last 30 minutes will be dedicated to filling up the post quiz. We request you all to make sure that everyone who attends the pre-quiz also attempts the post-quiz. It's important for us because only this can help us understand how much the teachers have benefited from the session, right? And how much more improvement can be done in the session and through the session is something that we will see. So here is a small activity that we want all of y'all to do. We have 10 more minutes at hand, and we would like for all of you all to take a piece of paper and pen and do this activity with us. So here is a learning outcome from grade 4. We have thought about a complete approach like game-based teaching, and we have seen a couple of strategies. Alva? So, ivattin strategy is observe and ask. Using the template that is displayed on the screen for you right now, come up with an activity that you can take to your classrooms. Remember, this is a simple activity template that we all can use to create strategic ways in which language learning and teaching can happen in our classroom. First, you choose a chapter, either a prose or a poetry. Then you come up with an activity. An activity here has to be a game-based activity, and the strategy should be to observe and ask, meaning like how we played I Spy. You all observed, I asked the questions, we did something, and we came up with a learning experience, right? All right. So the learning outcomes that you choose can be both DSCRT or NCRT. And the learning objectives is important. Learning objective of that particular session in the classroom should be based on a concept, a grammar concept. It can be a skill, a language skill like LSRW, or a value, because our textbooks are filled with values, right? Like kindness and courage, etc. Next, the materials required need to be low cost and no cost. And the steps for the activity need to start with a leading question, where the children are bound to start a thinking process. And then they should be exposed to the concept or the skill or the value. And after that comes the reflective questions, where you will be following up or expanding on the learning. You will also have application-based interaction, and you will have a learning reflection and summation. Alba, last but the most important is daily life application. How can learners use the concepts and skills they have learned today in their real life? ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಐ ಸ್ಪೈ ಆಡಿದ್ವಿ. How can they do or play this with their immediate environment? How can they play this with their friends, their brothers and sisters, their families? How can secrets be shared when people are around? Crowd ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಏನೋ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಆದ್ರೆ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಗೇಮ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಡೈಲಿ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನೀವೇ ಅದನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So we will give you the next 10 minutes now. It's going to be a little quiet because we want all of you all to have your space to do this activity. Please take out a pen and paper. Look at the template that is provided on the screen. The screen will be frozen and ide position irutte. Nimige learning outcome provide ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ, approach provide ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ, strategy nu provide ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. Now, teachers, is your time to shine and come up with an activity. All the best. The soft copy of this particular module and the teacher handbook will be reaching you all very soon after this interaction. The book will be notified by the diet and they will get back to your schools. But soft copy will be shared soon, ma'am. Game-based teaching ಒಳಗೇನೆ FLN ಅನ್ನ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ we have tried in our activities. It is through our strategies that we have addressed the FLN objectives. So FLN objectives, ಒಂದೊಂದು ಗ್ರೇಡ್ಗೆ ಒಂದೊಂದು objective ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? DSCRT objectives ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ಈ strategies ಅನ್ನ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. So executing these strategies in the classroom develops FLN in the students. So you can take up these strategies and utilize it in the classroom as per your grades, and thus work on the FLN competencies of the children.
ಸೆಷನ್ ಮುಗಿಸೋಣ, ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗೇ ಆಯಿತು. ಆಲ್ ದ ಫಂಕ್ಷನಲ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಇತ್ತು, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಫಾರ್ ಆನ್ಸರಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದೋಸ್. ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್, ಒಂದು ನಾನು ಬೈ ದ ವೇ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ನಾನು ಸುಶೀಲ್. ನಾನು ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಏನಂತಂದರೆ FLN ರಿಲೇಟೆಡು, FLN ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ವಾ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಈಗ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಟೀಚರ್ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗಲೇ ಟೀಚೋಪಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಖಂಡಿತ ಸಿಕ್ಕೇ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಪ್ರತಿ ಚಾಪ್ಟರಿಗೆ, ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೋಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಪೋಯಿಟ್ರಿಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಸಿಕ್ಬಿಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನೀವು ಅದೇ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಮತ್ತು ಇವತ್ತು FLN ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಿಸಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದರದ್ದು ನಮ್ದು ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದಷ್ಟೇ ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಒತ್ತು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಗೇಮ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಟೀಚಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳಗಾಗಿ ಬರೋ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಈ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಒಳಗೆ, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸನ್ನ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯಾವ ಥರ ನಾವು ಫೌಂಡೇಶನಲ್ ಲಿಟ್ರಸಿ, ಫೌಂಡೇಶನಲ್ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಲಿಸ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿನ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಹೊರತು ತುಂಬ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು 1 ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು 4 ಅಥವಾ 6 ಅವರ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನಾಳೆ ಎಂಗೇಜ್ ಬೇಕಿರೋದನ್ನು ಮಾತಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಒತ್ತು ಕೊಟ್ವಿ. ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿನ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಯಾವ ಥರ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೀಚರ್ಸಿಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟು ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಲು, ಈಗ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಲಿಸ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಇಂಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಆದರೆ ಯಾವ ಚಾಪ್ಟರಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಗೆ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ನೀವೇ ಒಂದು ಒದಗಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ಯು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ನೋ ದಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಕೇಪಬಲ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಹೂ ಇಸ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಡೂ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿತ್ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಟು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಅವಾಗೆ ಟೀಚೋಪಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆ PDF ಅನ್ನು ನೀವು ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಮೊಬೈಲಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರ್ಸೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಖಂಡಿತ ಅದನ್ನು ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂದಿನ ದಿನಾನೇ ಅಥವಾ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲನೇ ನೀವು ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿರಿ. ನೀವಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ಬೋದು. ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಷನಿಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಆ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸನ್ನು ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೊಬೈಲಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ರೂ ಸಾಕು. ನೀವು ಈಗ ಇರೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು, ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ನೇ ತೋರಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಏನೂ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಗೇನ್ ರಿಮೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ, ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸು ಕೂಡ ಯಾವುದು ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಉದ್ದೇಶ. ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಈಗ ಬ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ವೀಲ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೇಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಪೇಜಸ್ಸನ್ನೇ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತನೂ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಇದೇ ನಾವು ಟೀಚರ್ಸಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಏನೋ ಈ ಒಂದು ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಅದಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ನನ್ನ ಭಾವನೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ನೀವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸು ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಗೇಮ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಟೀಚಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೋ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸನ್ನು ನೀವು ಕಾಂಕ್ರೀಟಾಗಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸಿಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು FLN ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ನಾವು ಜನರಲ್ ಟೀಚಿಂಗ್, ಈಗ ಹಾಗೆ ನೋಡಿದರೆ ನಾವು ಜನರಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿದಿನವೂ FLN ಮಾದರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ FLNಗೋಸ್ಕರನೇ ನಾವು ನಮ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಐ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಟು ಓಪನ್ ಟೀಚೋಪಿಯಾ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಒಂದ್ಸಲ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಸಿಕ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಇದು ಆ ಒಂದು ಸಂಚಲನ ಸೆಂಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಇದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಕ್ರೀಟ್ ಟೆಂಪ್ಲೇಟ್ ಏನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರಲ್ವಾ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೇಟರ್ಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ, ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಆ ಥರ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ, ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ 1 ರೌಂಡು, 2nd ರೌಂಡು ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ತುಂಬ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನಿಸಿದ್ರೆ 1st ರೌಂಡು ಗ್ರೂಪಲ್ಲಿ, 2nd ರೌಂಡು ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ. ಹಾಂ ಸರ್.
ಸರ್, ಒಂದು ಟೀಚೋಪಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಇರೋಂಥ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದೆ ಸರ್. ಅದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದು ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಮಾಮೂಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ 2nd ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ದು ಕವರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಇದಾಗಿದೆ, ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ಸ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ಮು ಕವರ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಅದು.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ತುಂಬ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಫಾರ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಅಪ್. ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಗೆ ಇದೊಂದು ಕಪಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೇಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆನೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸು ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಈಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರುವಾಗಲೇ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಅದು ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಬಹುದು.
ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಸರ್?
ಹಾಂ ಸರ್, ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂಗೋಸ್ಕರನೇ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಏನು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಕನ್ನಡ ಮೀಡಿಯಂಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅಗೇನ್ ಎಟ್ ದಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡೇ ನಮಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಕನ್ನಡ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಆಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ MTIP ಶಾಲೆ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ವಿ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಆನ್ ಇದು ಏನಂತಾರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸು, ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಗ್ರಾಮರ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಈ ಮೂರ ಮೇಲೆನೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನೀವು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಖಂಡಿತ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಖಂಡಿತ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೋಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪೋಯಿಟ್ರಿ ಕತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇದು ಪದ್ಯ ಮಾತ್ರ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದೇ ಹೊರತು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ನೀವು ಪ್ರೇರೇಪಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮೀಡಿಯಂಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡಿದ ಲೆಸನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಆ ತರ ಅನ್ಸೋದು ಬೇಡ ಅವರಿಗೆ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಆ ತರ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಬಟ್ ಅದೇ ಅದು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಇದ್ರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು.
ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ ಸರ್, ಖಂಡಿತ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ. ಐ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ ಯು ದಟ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು 2-3 ದಿನದಲ್ಲೇ ನಿಮ್ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ. ಟೀಚೋಪೇದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡತ್ತೆ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ರವಿಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರೇ.